So I guess people are going for stuff.
I don't know if Kyrie
You have to.
You run like the first.
Yeah, you have to get like a.
I'll check
Just
again.
like general forward, power forward.
Training
I wonder if there's
oh, and
What is the higher
whatever everyone's.
I noticed that on top
for like all our college friends.
You have to like almost, because when he, Ukulele, my teacher, so ukulele doesn't even look at the script.
He's Chinese, it's a rocket.
Is he right? Warrior. Mainly because the game. I mean,
So they also do this.
right now it's
I think they here's a bunch
So now I don't like those. But at one point they were okay.
Are you running SQL right on It works for me in Python too, but not Python too. Same, Python for years. Why does it matter? Yeah, Daniel, why does it matter? Why does it matter?
It's in my office.
It really matters.
no, I
I
don't.
was very keeping without one today.
I am, but I don't have to that.
Yeah. Well, and if you want to come by after this too.
No,
It's in my office.
I know. I first landed on. I didn't speak with you. I don't know what. The first day I came here, I couldn't fix something.
Yeah.
Talk about like the
Wait, can I try?
I was. your last
And I will not be good at that.
I just took
And I have
a
a
morning flight. Yeah.
Perfect. So what? Alright guys, I am your ginger today, so I'm filling in for her role. So we have a wonderful speaker here today. She told me I have to uphold her standards in this, so the pressure is on. I'm pretty sure she has a videotape around her watching me right now to make sure I do this correctly. Yes, this is being recorded, so if you guys can kind of keep down all the background noise with the potato chips and all of that, that way we won't have a video with a bunch of background noise. So our speaker today is Steve Brumer. He's with 151 Advisors, which is a consulting firm, and an expert in the Internet of Things, which I really cannot tell you what that means or what that is. But he has many years experience in the wireless industry as well as the consulting industry. He's a guest speaker. He just came from Wharton last week where he was meeting with the Wharton Business School MBAs. So really he's going to share a lot of his insights and help explain what this Internet of Things really is.
Only to you, I think they all know. That's what it sounds like.
Am I the only one? Does anyone else not know what the Internet of Things is?
You're probably the only one.
Great.
Full savage.
So when I ask you a definition of something, you just answer for me. That one out. At least you admitted it. Right off the bat. That's the first step to recovery.
I know what the Internet is.
Don't ask me how I know that. Hello and ni hao. How's everybody doing today? Friday the 13th.
Is it?
I saw black.
And of course, my lovely wife explained to me that,
We met on Friday.
I'm like, oh, okay, great, that'll work. So, thank you so much for allowing me into your lives for however long we're going to be here. How long do we have?
About an hour.
3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours?
Till 7 o'clock tonight, so please go
I'll
on.
be drinking by 6 o'clock or I get happy hour.
Yeah, I'll get about 1:15.
Friday the 13th, she wanted to, how to go out. So, I don't even know where to begin. Yes, I speak a lot. So I'm all over the world. I have an office in Hong Kong, so I'm in China at least 4 times a year. Do a lot of business in China. Istanbul, Istanbul's not on there, we just added that, as well as London. And so my travels around the world do a couple of things for me. One is to better understand how business is being done everywhere. All right, so I hate the word consulting because it kind of connotates me into I'm a consultant, what do they do? It's a little bit different, right? So we want to try and figure out how to make money. Okay, so does it say monetizing behind me? Yes, it does. So one of the things that differentiates us from a lot of other firms that are out there around the world is that we don't build, create, or design anything. All we do is help companies make money. Now, they could be VCs or private equity firms that have invested in great disruptive technologies, who have invested, I know this is all recording, so it's awesome. Who invested in geeks who can't sell shit. So we all know them. They are always going to be them. But so we have to figure out a way to take this really cool disruptive technology and make a business out of it. And that's what we as a company focus in on. So it's a little unique. It's more about strategy, building successful sales, marketing, business development programs around the world, and executing on those programs. It's one thing to build a strategy, it's the second thing to do that. What we're going to talk about is IoT, AI, and big data. And you're going to hear it from a little different perspective. Right? So you're not going to hear it from a technology standpoint. I'm going to give it a business switch. So, example, I just spoke this week at a smart agriculture show. Okay, so you think Okay, what is going on with agriculture? Do you know how much data and AI is being used in agriculture every day? It's a huge vertical market segment for what you're doing. Not only in Asia, because, don't take this wrong, but China is way behind the US markets in agriculture, in smart, intelligent agriculture. The US is leading the markets around the world for intelligent agriculture. In 2 weeks, I'll be speaking at the Data Security Summit in New York City because I spend a tremendous amount of my time on data security because I believe that we have a major issue, and I'll give you the example of what I talked about. So we had the Target breach a couple of years ago, and you know what that caused us in the United States to have? The chipsets on every one of your debit cards and credit cards. The rest of the world had it. You can go to Europe, they had chipsets everywhere for the last 5 or 10 years. But it took the Target breach to do that. And here's what's going to change us on big data and security. How many people have Nest thermostats? Come on, guys, really? Only a few? Okay, right? So I'm in a room of 1,000 people 2 weeks ago at an event speaking to, and I said, and these are all older people, so you know. Older people, and I said, that was actually at Wharton. 1,000 people in the audience, and I said, and these, obviously MBA students, graduates, CEOs of Total Wine is there and everything. How many people have a Nest thermostat in the room? How many people out of 1,000 people in the room do you think raise their hand? 20. 20. And I said, okay, well, just now think about the whole aspect of security as it relates to that. Can you imagine being able to, at some particular point, hack into every Nest thermostat in the world and change the temperature in everybody's house to 100 degrees? And think about 25 million homes, people coming home, and their homes are 100 degrees in there, and you can't do squat to change it. You can't pick up the phone and call Google. Call Nest. You're going to think anybody's going to answer the phone? They don't do that for customer service anymore, right? What are you going to do, rip it off the wall? Then what are you going to do? So think about that. So that's my idea of scare. Let's figure out how to avoid that because someone could do that, and that'll change our way of thinking about security. So that's what we're going to try and go through today. This past week at the agriculture show, my talk was about IoT and big data and the analytics around that. I am not the guy that you're going to ask me technical questions about. You guys are going to blow me away on that one. So as I said, I'm going to talk to you a little bit in a different scenario. Yes, sir.
Wasn't there a huge IoT attack last
year?
Yes,
the DDoS attack.
Right. So is that like one of those situations that you say are going to push the envelope?
That's correct. So here's the difference. So in your home today, you have a thing called a router. Do you think that router is secure?
No.
Do you think it will ever be secure?
Probably.
No. There's no way that Linksys, Netgear, anybody is going to put any kind of security in that device in the foreseeable future. So the only way to really protect that are 2 different ways. Encrypting the data on the devices that are in your home. So if we look at the growth of IoT and in your home automation, so just for a second, think about all the things that are in your apartment. How many people are in the apartment? How many people are in, when you look at your apartment, you look at your home, think about how many nodes in that could be connected. Ring.com, sensors on the doors, sensors on the windows, garage door openers that are automatically now that you can use on your Craftsman's, right on there. Now you're looking at all the IP cameras. Not only Alexa and Google Home, but now the thermostat, and you add the humidity temperature and the water sensors at your water heaters and your air conditioning devices and everything else. Oh my God, that's going to an unsecure router. So the way the DDoS attack worked is they went into the IP cameras and got that code, sucked it out, and that's where the virus went. So it went through there because there was no security built in it. Xfinity, Cox Cable, any of the ISPs that are out there, they don't care. You're paying them every month for the services. So the next future is a company called like Cujo, C-U-J-O, Cujo. Asian-built product, but it's a security hub that fits behind your router. So router into the security hub, and then all the units come in. That's where the future is. Having some kind of secure hub where everything in the home is attached to it. It goes through there.
So why wouldn't like Linksys partner up with like Cujo or
Competitiveness. They don't. First of all, they don't want to. They don't. They won't. They can't scare you, right? So Linksys won't sell a lot of routers. Charter, Xfinity won't put them in your home if they think that that is a secure breach. So it's got to be a secondary device. Now, at some particular point, they will, and that's probably years away. But that's going to be the root cause of it. Okay? And we have unsecured devices coming from Asia. So so when I go to Asia and I go talk to someone who is building IP cameras or Ring.com devices or smart garage door openers or sensors, it's all about the idea of putting encryption between that device and your application. Trying to make it multiple ways. Okay? Where the hell was I? What was I talking about?
Internet of Things.
Oh. What is that, by the way? Okay, so everybody's got a smartphone. Everybody's been using wireless data, correct? For a while now, since you 10 years with the iPhone. So what was the I'm supposed to. This is where I get to keep mine. All right. For this card, which is going to be mine because none of you are going to get the answer. What was in the history of the world, what was the first wireless data transmission? First wireless data transmission in the history of the world.
Smoke.
What is it?
Smoke rings.
Close, but go back further than that.
Talking.
What was it?
Talking.
It's some sort of sound.
Drums.
Close. Go further back than that.
5.
That was
Yeah.
close. That was really close. Ready?
Singing.
Are you ready?
Dancing.
Are you ready for this answer?
Yes.
This is going to be mine anyway. When God sent Moses the 10 Commandments wirelessly sent down to a tablet. Exactly. I get to keep the Chick-fil-A card. Exactly. I told you I was going to keep these things, didn't I? So if you think about where wireless and transmissions of data and everything have gone over the last umpteen years, and I've been in wireless 34 years, going good. 34 years, yes, I started when I was 12. And if you look at where we are today, probably some of the biggest changes that we have today are in analytics, data analytics, big data, and security. It will continue to be a big, big push as we go down the road, and so we have to address it. I am so happy to be here with you guys because looking at the future, and this is the inaugural class, and you look at the opportunities that you have in front of you to be able to bring your knowledge into a lot of different places, and I'm going to talk about some of those vertical markets, like smart agriculture. You may not think you want to be in that smart agriculture business, but I'm assuring you that yesterday when the CIO of Dell EMC and the day before the CIO of Microsoft is talking about smart agriculture and data analytics and big data and the use of data and how you manipulate that data and what you do with it to improve the lives of people, you're in the right spot. But there have been a lot of, I'm skipping around, I'll get to it, but there's been failures. There's been many data scientist-based companies who have failed because the monetization of big data is hard. How do you want to pay for it? Who's going to pay for it? How do they want to buy it? How is it bundled? Where does it go? Is it a subscription model? Is it a license model? Are you trying to save the company money? Can you make money off of the savings that you got from the data that you analyzed? So there's a lot of things around business that you're going to have to understand also because it's just not an easy answer as to how you make money doing it. So that's where we're going to go. We're going to go down this journey and see what comes up. And again, please feel free to ask me anything you want whenever you want to do it. Okay, where am I going page down? All right, so this is the agenda, very simple. Q&A doesn't have to be at the end, it can be at any time. So let's talk about me. So, yeah, do I speak a lot? Yeah, I do. I speak, I've been on the road since beginning of September. I speak at CES on IoT and where there's how to make money in the consumer electronics and consumer business around it. I spoke in Barcelona 2 weeks ago at the International IoT show. So I love doing this, and I think it's only because my bubbling personality, it's about the subject. It's about making money. I mean, technology, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things that have to happen with technology, but you guys are smart. You come up with really cool stuff. But you got to think about how you can move it, how you can sell it, who's going to sell it, and that kind of stuff. So, been 30 years experience in the wireless business, but I've been in technology since I was a kid. I had the fortunate family life of living with a electrical engineer that started at, I know these guys are never going to remember this, Western Electric, which became a offshoot of AT&T and was the developer of the first rotary phones. Does anybody know what a rotary phone is? There you go. That's exactly right. That's it. And I always test myself. I go, so what was your phone number when you were there? You remember it?
My great uncle was an electrical engineer for Bell South.
For Bell South, yeah. So if you look at those, if you look at those days. So I was in the electronic components business. So in that day, we were building the first sets of electronic communications gear back in this old days. And so I grew up. So I just got, when I was in Shanghai a couple of months ago, I went through a STEM class in Shanghai with kids that were soldering components onto boards and solder sucking their mistakes. Has anybody ever done that before in this room? Who's been on, right? You've done some soldering before of components? That's an interesting game, but these kids were doing it. 7- to 8-year-old kids, so they knew what a resistor was, a capacitor was, what a linear IC was, what a heat sink was. And you look at those kind of things. So that's where I started. And then I started not only electronic components business, but I got into the first computer products. And at that time, there used to be a big computer product, and we would have dumb terminals off of it. And you would just have this dumb terminal in front of you, and you would pray that the information in the big computer came out. So I used to sell all that equipment, and I actually sold the first modem. Does anybody know Hayes microcomputer? Used to be in Norcross. They were the first ones to do a wireless data modem for consumers and for your home. So today you just take it for granted. You take it for granted that you have 4G modules in your phones and in your laptops and everything else. Do you know what the speed of the first modem was? And I'm talking about modem. Plug the damn thing into the wall. Modem. Anybody have any idea what the first speeds were, or the first consumer modems were? 300, 1200 baud. Oh, hit enter, wait 20, 30 seconds for this crap to get back to you. It was unbelievable what we had to put up with. And that's what we were selling to colleges and schools. Actually, the first modems I sold to the Federal Reserve Bank in was maximum speed of 9600 baud. And now you're at gigabytes per second. And I was selling that crap because no one knew how to communicate data from one end to the other. There was big things back then. So we made a hell of a lot of money doing that stuff. So that's what we did. And that's where I came from, right? So I mean, I came from the business of sitting there. All right, I got technology. I got to figure out a way to make money with it. Who's going to buy this stuff? How are they going to buy it? Where are they going to buy it? What are they willing to pay for? Can we lease it to them? What's the communication cost look like? All those kinds of things. Yeah, I have an undergraduate degree that has nothing to do with what I do today. So don't follow my rule, please. I tell my kids that all the time. So I went to school on a basketball scholarship. So I was one of those dumb jocks that didn't really care too much. You don't have them here at Emory. I've seen you play soccer and basketball. You don't have that. But I did get my master's at City University of New York in but I went at night because my father and I had this growing, expanding business in the Northeast United States and Chicago area. And I felt that I wanted to go at night. It was probably the best thing I ever did. I was able to pay for my master's with a credit card. So there wasn't the expense that you guys have to go through, but I'm not talking about that. It's a challenge, but I paid for it with a credit card. And I went at night because the people that were in the room were like me. They were guys that were running businesses and working their tails off, and the education that I was getting, the practical education I was getting was amazing. And that changed the history of my life because for the time since 1981 when I got my master's, I've only had a real job working for a real company for 3 years. Until I really told my boss at Bell South, after selling him my company, working for this telco dude for 3 years, this guy that came from a pole, I can't do this anymore. So I walked out the door. But that was 3 years of pain working for him. So I've always been in owning my own businesses and growing my own businesses. The 9 years ago when we started this company, I had just sold another business called Global Wireless Data. We were the single largest integrator, distributor of wireless data products in the world. We got up to 185 in the Inc. 500, and we're fortunate enough to sell it out. All again around communications technologies and the products that get data from one end to the other. So been in data that long. I have two sometimes wonderful, sometimes pain in the ass kids. One's studying dentistry in Jacksonville, and one's in Athens. Don't know what the hell he does. I know what he does on Saturdays, that's for sure, but I don't know what he in the fall. I don't know what he does any other time. And my wife owns a company in Buckhead called AIS Media. It's one of the largest digital agencies in the city, so she's doing search engine optimization and marketing and branding and things like lead generations and lead gen programs for companies around the world. And so we are a technology focused, business focused, profit focused family. Two A-type personalities, very interesting dynamics. Especially for happy hour. We start to talk about all kinds of stuff, but I'm on the road so much, it works out really, really well. Even at my age, I'm still playing basketball a couple days a week. Still kicking the crap out of these young dudes for as long as I possibly can. And go from there. As my wife says, the insurance policy is paid, right? Yes, it is. I'm going to die on the basketball court. Fine. I love what I do. I'm very blessed to be in the fields I'm in. Having been in mobile for 34 years, I can say that because of the changes that have happened in the industry. M to M, machine to machine is where IoT started, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But the one great thing about the businesses I'm in is that it changes. You have to continue to educate yourself. I go to conferences to learn more, to be around smart people that tell me something new, that allow me to be able to understand how to explain it to decision makers around the world. You know, when I go to India or I go to Vietnam and I sit there and I go into factories and I talk to people there, I listen to how they go about doing business. I want to know what they think about exporting. I want to know what they think about trade. I want to know what they think about what the box looks like, what the packaging looks like, of how it gets to you. You know, what's the goods and the bads of the audience that they're trying to sell their product to. So I love doing that. It's so much fun for me, but it also is about growing businesses. Why I speak to you, why I was at Wharton, why I've spoken at MIT, at Stanford, at Chicago Business School, Northwestern School of Business there. It's because I want to be able to explain to you a little bit more, and hopefully you walk away with something that allows you to say, okay, that's a little different perspective. I'm trying to understand that. So that's my background, where I came from, where I'm going. And it was so funny. Yes, Elena.
I'm curious what your undergraduate degree was.
criminal justice and education. Don't know why. I know the education piece why. My mom was a teacher, so I went into that piece. But I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, so I was around a lot of bad things in the 60s, the riots that took place in Newark and the riots we had in our country. I saw a lot of kids go bad, and I felt at the time that, so I went into juvenile justice. I was never wanting to be in a police car. So I went into juvenile justice, and while I was going for my master's, I actually was a principal in a juvenile detention center. So I was taking the education, put it into juvenile detention center, and it, you know, then it was just, you know, there was no money in it for me at that time, so I just didn't do that. And I don't do that now. Yeah. I just talked it. So again, here's what we do. We look at ways of weaving sales and business initiatives and driving revenue and monetizing things for companies and groups around the world. It is a blast. I truly love what I do, and so I'm very blessed to be in the area that I am. But again, we are about execution. These may not matter to you, but you know, these are international companies. We do about 35% of our revenue is international. If you look at Invest Northern Ireland and IE Singapore and FinPro is Finnish Pro, if you are a Asian company, a company in some of these countries, and you want to come to North America or go to Europe or something like that, we are a one-stop shop for companies to establish their businesses in those particular countries. We do virtual marketing, we set up all the sales and distribution, customs, everything else related to that around the world. So, let's get into it. Ready? You don't need strategy. You need a business strategy and incorporates it. Don't think that you're the driving force. You got to look at the business objectives and the business initiatives that are going on and figure out how to put big data into those. You might think you're the most important piece of it, but you're not. Driving the revenue, growing the business. This was a great quote, and it changed the way we thought about it and the way we talk to companies about big data, because it's about driving the business strategy. You know, what are you going to do with this data? Who's going to use it? How are we going to use it? So so these are a series of questions that we go and we talk to clients about when it comes to data and the use of data. So number one is, you know, is your company ready for it? There's a lot of companies that are out there that are building a huge repository of data, but they're not ready for it. They don't even know what the hell to do with it. Stat. You know what? Work hard. Let's see if we can come close. Of the data that's being analyzed today, big data and data analytics, how much of that data is being used by companies? Percentage-wise.
Less than 5%. My 3%.
It is under 20%. Under 20%. And it's going to go down before it goes back up, before it goes up. Why? Because the data's coming out so fast, it's growing faster than you can even analyze it. So you got to look at that kind of situation where you go, okay, so the first question is you go to a CIO, right, who that usually has responsibility for the data. You go to the CIO and you go, I'm going to give you the biggest analytics engine in the world. I'm going to take all your data and I'm going to analyze it and I'm going to hand it to you. The CIO goes, what the hell do you want me to do with it? First thing out of their mouth. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to use it. They don't know what it's going to do. They don't know how it's going to provide. So when you look at it, you got to ask them, okay, all right, I got it. Now let's get ready for the data. Let's bring operations. Let's bring sales in. Let's bring marketing in. Let's business development in. Let's bring products in. You got to bring in all these people in. You got to get a cohesive idea as to what your strategy is. What the hell are you going to do with that data? If I give product development that data, what are they going to do with it? Well, today, yes, But in the future, what the hell is she? I'm going to make products based on the data that I'm getting from the end user. Exactly right. You know, if I'm in logistics and I'm getting all this data there, and they go, I don't really care. I put it on a pallet, it goes on a truck, it gets delivered to Walmart, and I'm happy. But if I'm the CFO, a stakeholder in the company, what do I care about? I care about, can I reduce my cost? Can I reduce my time to market? Do you know that your Dole bananas and your Chiquita bananas are tracked from where? From the time they're on the vine and they get that little barcode on them, all the way to your shelf. That's a hell of a lot of data. What do I do with all that data? Is that all logistics data? Yeah, damn right. One of our clients I showed you on there was Orcom. Orcom makes a satellite terrestrial terrestrial wireless data module that goes in every Dole shipping container that's on every ship anywhere in the world. And I can tell you that the banana that was picked on Friday the 13th got picked out, put in this box, put in this crate, put on this pallet, put in this container, and is on this ship going through the Panama Canal and will be in the port of Miami by Thursday. All from a code that's on there. I know I'm going to bring this up, but do you know that every cannabis plant that's now grown in the United States in a legal, did that? Legal place is tied to an RFID tag and tracked? How much data is produced today? Because who wants to know? The government wants to know, the people that produce it, the suppliers want to know, money people want to know because it's still a federal offense. So, you know, all that marijuana business, the cannabis business is all cash, right? You know that, right? It's not illegal. Some things we just are so stupid at, it's ridiculous. But all that's being tracked. All that data is coming in from an RFID tag that's originally put onto the cannabis plant as it's growing in a hydroponic warehouse. So that's more data. So we have to figure out if your organization is ready for it. And what is your business model? It's big data business model. What are you going to do with that data? How are you going to put it together? How does it affect your strategy and your goals? Let me tell you something. How many people have been in a board meeting? Like a company board meeting. Okay. Can you imagine being in those company board meetings and the old geezers at the board are sitting there going, tell me about the big data. What's the data telling me? There's not a chance in hell they're talking about that because they don't understand it. But I can assure you that if you're the CEO or the CIO and you're in that board meeting, you better know what your business model is tied to the data that's coming in because it's going to be the judgment piece of where you go long term, how you put your business together. And what is the economics of it? Does collecting the data cost companies?
Yes.
Oh,
We got shaking heads. Who said no? You shake your head no? You said no or yes?
I said no.
Okay, why don't you think it costs?
It's usually being generated like online or by some kind of service, so I'm guessing it's minimal cost. It's not that
Who disagrees? Yes, sir. Oh my God. Why do you disagree?
When you collect the data, you use a lot of computer resources, and sometimes you even use human resources. So that costs a lot of money. And if you want to get the data from other database, you have to purchase it. So that's also a lot of money.
Because most companies don't have the infrastructure
Right.
to gather their own data and analyze it. So you're having to outsource that stuff, whether it's to Google, AWS, wherever it is in the cloud, and everything else in between. So you're not totally wrong, but yes, sir.
If you do have that infrastructure though and you're collecting the data yourself, that cost can either be offset or completely overwhelmed by then selling the data.
Correct. You're absolutely right. There's the ROI on the data you have. That's correct, and I'll expand upon that in a second. So, one of the things that the farmers over the last couple of days talked to me about was, I'm getting a lot of data. What the hell do I do with it for myself? And then I'm sitting next to the CIO of the Department of Agriculture at the Wharton event a couple weeks ago, and she turns around and says, I need all the damn data I can get, and I'm willing to pay for it. This is the Department of Agriculture saying that. And you would think, shouldn't that all go to you? Right? And it doesn't. So you are right. The cost of acquiring data today has never been higher. It is only because you guys want to make money too, right? If you're going to become data scientists and you're going to become data analytics people, you're going to want to make money. I would assume that your parents and everybody wants you to make money, right? At some particular point. Better be, because that's the last slide. I'm going to leave now. I'm going to take my Chick-fil-A and leave now if you don't want to make money. Yes, sir.
I'm sure some companies have the infrastructure to collect the data, but not to analyze it, and they're probably just selling it.
No, they're not smart enough to sell it. If they're not smart enough to understand how to analyze it, they sure as hell don't know the value of the data to outside companies.
Okay, so still, I can continue with my question. When you're selling your data, or at least some part of it, does this open you to some external competition risks? Because it's something you can just guard and analyze and drive your own insights, but you're just selling it for maybe short-term profits compared to long-term.
You're right on. So yesterday I had a discussion with a guy who, a very large California-based farmer, 300,000 acres, doing everything from avocados to cantaloupes to other fruits and vegetables. I forgot what he had. 300,000 acres. And he is using Wi-Fi to connect all the sensors, all the irrigation, all the pest control, all the pesticides, everything around Wi-Fi. And so the first thing I say is, well, that's not secure. I can go ride down the road with my tractor and steal all your data. Okay, right? And so he said, yeah, that's possible, but I have encryption on the line and everything else like that. And I said, well, aren't you worried about the farmer next door getting your data? He goes, every damn day. He has a drone detection system, worried about some farmer putting up his drone, coming over his farm, taking pictures, analyzing his crops, analyzing his soil, analyzing where his row crops are, everything else, and he has it's like the Israeli army, like Mossad's in California, waiting to see who's drones coming over. But he's got a drone detection system from that standpoint. So you think you're worried about the data and who owns the data? The answer is absolutely. But what you do on the selling of the data is it's almost anonymous. Right, so let's just say I do have crop information to tell you what my yields are for cantaloupes. I might want to sell that data to companies who can use that for the cost, for the commodities cost, but it's coming from farm XYZ. I'm not telling you it's Steve's farm. So you still have the ability to sell the data in regular bunches. For example, I know you have a question, so I remember. So last week in Barcelona, one of my great friends who runs the Ford Sync program. How many people have used Ford Sync in their cars? Anybody use Ford? No one buys Ford. Don't tell me you're all freaking electric guys, all right? Come on, we love fossil fuel here. So Ford Sync. He runs Ford Sync worldwide. 2,200 people building infotainment programs and maintenance and everything that's in a car. How many sensors do you think are in the average car? How many computers do you think in sensors do you think are in? Huh?
Close to 200.
Wait a second. Almost 1,000 different sensors and computers that are in your car. In the average car today, when you look at how many times your tire deflates and that red light pops up and it says right rear tire is down, refill it. That's 3 computers that's going through. Sensors that's in the tire, in the valve stem, that's sending it to another sensor that's looking at all of it, that's going to your main computer module that's sending you that thing on the dashboard. So he turns around and says, I said to him, so you got all this data, what are you doing with it? Who owns that data? Oh, who owns the data in the car? Really?
The owner of the car.
Okay. Who's the owner of the car?
The So it could be a leasing.
Oh, so does a leasing company own it?
Probably.
So here's my example. Jet engines. I'm all over the place. When you see this crap come up later, we'll just move on to something else. So, jet engine. Jet engine is built by GE Pratt & Whitney. Pratt & Whitney's selling that engine to Boeing. Boeing is assembling that. It's going into a Delta plane. The Delta gets from a leasing company. So if I'm GE and I want to make sure that that jet engine doesn't break down because I'm doing Watson data, then I'm now predicting that this engine needs to be repaired or fixed, right? Predictive analytics. Who are you sending that data to? Who owns that jet engine? Who does?
The leasers, probably.
We don't know when it's causing 3D problems.
Okay, so guess what? Here's the power of money. Delta repairs repairs all engines down at the airport, right? And that goes in those big hangars. Delta pays for that data to come into them because they don't own that jet engine.
It's the people leasing it too.
That's exactly right. So now the same data can be sold to a numerous ways for the same piece of data from the jet engine. So when you think about data, you got to think about the economics, right? So that's why I'm here, right? I just want you to think outside of the geek box, right? We just look at it from the business transit. So it's the same thing for a car. So Ford turns around and sells that data numerous times. Sirius XM wants to know every channel you're on, how long you're in the car, how much infotainment you're listening to. They'll know whether you've got kids because they're going to know whether the heads-up displays in the back are playing Thomas the Tank Engine or whatever the hell they're looking at. Barney doesn't exist anymore. It's only my age. But those kind of things, right? So they want to know all that infotainment information. The tire companies want to know how their tires are doing, how long they're going to last before they get changed. The oil companies want to know how long the viscosity in the oil lasts, so they want that data. So Ford Sync makes nothing from a Ford Sync sale to you. They make it all in the data that they sell. And so my friend John, think about this. All that data goes back to who owns it, right? So I'm going to sit there and go, this is my friggin' car, I own the data. Let's just say put my foot down, I own the data. If that were true, my friend John Ellis, you can go to John Ellis and Associates and look at his new book that he's got on this. He believes that we should pay nothing for our car because the data and the value of that data that they are selling is crap because that's my car. And they should be giving you the car for free because the ROI for them on the data is so much bigger than they can get from me paying for the lease payments. So we should have free cars. And he said this in front of like 1,000 people last week. I was like, oh, all right, John, obviously you still got a job. Pretty cool. But then if you think about that, right, and you start to think about all the other commodity products and things that we have, the data is tied to, it may be the case where we just give you the damn thing. Because I, as a company owner, know that my return on investment is going to be so huge based on the data that I sell to whomever on a worldwide basis. All the vendors, all the manufacturers, all the other people. Academics. You guys want to get all this data. You want to play with it, right? So I'm going to sell it to Emory. Emory's going to pay for the data that comes from my car, that comes from the tires, that comes from the engine. Because you want to analyze it. Isn't that fair? My data. Yes, sir.
So what would say, in the example that you're giving, what would say stop the tire company from putting, say, a chip or something like that inside every tire that they make so that they can get the data back?
They do. They do.
Because
so truck tires, every truck tire on every 18-wheel that you see in the United States has got a computer sensor tied to it, or some kind of sensor that's looking at if it's a retread, it's looking at the depth of the retread. If it's looking at the tire pressure, it's looking at the balance of it. Again, because A bad tire causes lower gas mileage and all the other things there. So all that's being done today, way past that stage.
So then, if that's the case, could we actually say that the people who are manufacturing it are the people who really own the data because
Yeah, it's a value add. So think about it. So if I'm Yellow Freight and I'm buying tires from Canadian Tire or Goodyear tires, and I know that my console can look at every tire that I have in the fleet everywhere, then I know that I can do just-in-time tire rack delivery of my tire, right? So I know that I can send my truck 117 to the nearest Goodyear dealer to get that right rear tire swapped out before it blows up on the side of the road. He's sitting on the side of the road waiting to get the tire replaced on the middle of I-95 on the way to New York. That's predictive analytics. Yes, sir.
With so much data being sold to so many people, do you think in the future we'll somehow move into a more anonymized, some kind of a data stock market thing, that way we'll just buy it like from the commodity markets, or do you think it'll still be?
Well, the data is being used by commodity markets for sure, right? But I mean, I don't know if you could commoditize data.
Like, I'm gonna buy middle-class American consumer data for this one.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's being done. But you're saying data as a commodity. I guess it is. I guess it is today because you are able to sell data today in various ways. So I would say yes, it is a product. And I'm stealing my thunder a little bit. I do believe that data as a product is coming fast and furious. Yes, sir.
So I just want to take a small step back. We're talking about a lot of data and a lot of companies which have the infrastructure or don't have the infrastructure and therefore can't get data.
Mm-hmm.
How many of these people, I mean, you've seen a lot of companies both in the US as well as in Asia. So how many of these companies actually have the mindset saying that, I can actually use this data to...
Okay, so that's a great question. And I'm going to go back to the idea that we have such a small percentage of companies utilizing the data. I think the concept of having a need for the data and doing something with the data is there. I think companies are being shamed into needing to do something with their data because of competitive pressures that they have. I still think that this crap's hard. And you guys are in it every day. Name me 2 companies that if I was doing this, 2 companies that are in the data analytics, big data space that I can go buy help from. Would you say?
You don't have to buy from them.
I do buy every month for $12.95 a protection service from them, which brings me a $1 million policy. If they screw up, I don't really care. I don't. But I mean, that's the whole thing. See, now when you graduate from this class, I expect to come back and I'm going to ask that same damn question, because who are you going to go work for? If you're going to go build a business, what are you going to do with this data? Right now, you can't tell me, and I can only say that Microsoft says they do it, AWS, Google does it, any of the big data analytics companies will say, you come to me and I can do this stuff for you. But if you're here in Atlanta, who do you go to? There's a company up on Northridge called Illuminate 360. They were a client of ours. They had 60 data scientists. They went under. Right? They went under because the business model was hard. What do you charge? What do you do with it? Data, you guys aren't cheap. Data scientists are not cheap. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to get it to me? What am I going to use it? So I think you run into those issues. So you got to think about it. And just know, people want predictions of everything. I wanted to predict what time I needed to leave my house today in Buckhead to get here on time so that they could meet me in the East Wing, wherever the hell I was. Right? So what did I use to get here? I used Waze to get here. I put in, I want to be here by 11:45. Use the program that says leave at 11:12 and you'll be here at 1:15. So I predicted what time I was. Isn't that data? Isn't that predictive data? Predictive analytics? Hell yes it is. Google Maps, looking at traffic sensors, looking at all the other accident cams, the DOT traffic information that's coming in. People love predictions. People are willing to pay a lot of money for that too. They want to predict how much Bitcoin is going. So do I. I keep on buying this crap, I don't know. Maybe not talking to you in 6 months. But everybody's predicting it, right? So they're all looking at predictive stuff. So make sure you understand that people want predictions. So do you understand your organization's key business initiatives and how they benefit from the big data? I think I've talked enough about that. Do you understand the economic value of your data and how it affects your technology and business investments? Being in board meetings, I can guarantee you that in the next year, someone in those board meetings is going to say, hey, we got a lot of data. What's the value of that data? What do I do with it? What does it mean? How does it affect what I do technology-wise? Can it save me money on logistics? Can it save me on costs of manufacturing in Guangzhou and Shenzhen? Hell yeah. It's going to affect what kind of products I build. Is it going to help me to decide on the data on whether I want a 3D printer to manufacture products to supply, to fix my stuff? It may be cost effective for you to sell with the data you get for repair companies. Today is a new line. So how many people have broken your cell phone and you went to a cellular phone repair place? Well, you can admit you broke the damn thing and you wanted to repair. So you break your screen, you go there, you break up something in there, you go to the cellular phone repair place. They have to go get a part, bring it in, put it on the shelf, everything else. So now there's a company in Shenzhen that is building a 3D printer of cellular replacement parts. So you bring it in there and you go, Jonathan, you got an iPhone, and you have a broken screen, right? Be back here in 1 hour and 47 minutes because I'm going to be printing out the screen and I'm going to put it together for you. Very cool. Very cool stuff. They're built, talk about data. Now they have enough data for prosthetic legs. 3D printer for prosthetic bones and things to be replaced. 3D printing. Hey, look, not bad, huh? It's unbelievable. But how did that happen? It was all about the data that came in. So that data that was gathered about all the hip replacements and knee replacements and you know where the number one area for it to be used is? Military. Imagine being in a field hospital. Don't imagine. You're in a field hospital, you get shot, something happens, you need something replaced. You're taking all the data you got. All right, he's a male, 6'2", kind of chubby, blah, 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 needs this kind of bone. His bone is measured. I took an MRI of it. It measures exactly that, puts it into the 3D printer, prints out a bone, and he goes replaces it. Right there in the field. All came from data. Yes, sir.
My name is Nate. I'm actually co-founding a startup that's in the business of giving companies data on what their users are posting on Snapchat and Instagram in exchange for them donating to charity. The idea is that we started off with like the social good and like the idea of like creating social good and like raising money for good causes, and then realized that what we're doing actually we're getting data on their stories that are disappearing on Snapchat and Instagram. My question to you is, I like data, and I also like making a difference, and you're bringing up a lot of good examples of like the 3D printed prosthetic legs that are obviously using data to really make a positive impact. In your experience, like what are like the 2 or 3 like coolest examples of data making a positive social impact?
I'll give you the one that I'm playing with right now. And I'm glad you're doing what you're doing because I'm at my stage of life looking to give back after all the blessings I've had. So I met some people like you at Rochester Institute of Technology and at Johns Hopkins. And what they showed me after I gave a speech, they came running up to me. I said, you got to see what we've done. I think you can do something in the smart agriculture business. And so what they have done is they have taken data from around the world into a mapping program. They've taken the geological maps of let's just say, they're doing it through Africa, India, Pakistan. Taking the map of those geographic areas, overlaying existing farmland, overlaying weather patterns, overlaying water supply, sun, how long sun's up, what the winds are, and those kind of things, and overlaying it on a map, and being able to say, in this particular geographic area that is surrounded by 100,000 inhabitants, food can't be grown here based on this data that comes out. And so in those particular areas, if we put vertical farms, everybody know what a vertical farm is? Vertical farm? No? Okay. So today we have crops growing in the grass, right? We grow it in the field, we go there. Vertical farming is, think about putting it in a vertical market. Vertical, in Detroit, you would find an abandoned warehouse and throw crops into an abandoned warehouse, hydroponic lights, drip water irrigation systems, everything right there, warehouse, throw it out the back, sell it right there on the side. So what we're talking about now is, oh, and by the way, you've seen it, if you Google urban farming or vertical farming, you'll see they also use old 52-foot containers, right? So you've seen plants being grown in containers. And so now imagine stacking those things 5 high, and now you're having all these things with grow lights inside and growing sustainable food for those areas. So I'm working with them to take that data and being able to go to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I met with the head of Telefonica and Vodafone last week in Europe. I met with Monsanto for the seeds. I met with Dow Chemical for the control of the chemicals that are going to be needed for fertilizer and all that other stuff. And we're going to, if everything works right for what I'm trying to do, and my partners love the idea that I'm doing this kind of thing when I should be worried about the profit of the company, is the idea of being able to look at doing vertical farms and urban farms in rural areas to feed villagers, because Bill and Melinda Gates have cured TB, have rid the continent of Africa of TB, and are still continuing to do things, but what are they doing? They're driving the stuff out to the villages. But it's the same thing with food. It's being driven out there. So if we were able to one time drive the soil and the fertilizer and all that other stuff to the remote villages, and we did a vertical farm in those particular areas, how many people can we feed? So that's the use of data in an entrepreneurial side, giving back. Because I want those villagers to be able to figure out how to make money doing it, right? It's got to be a sustainable scenario. Even though it's going to have solar and wind to produce the power to put the grower lights on and do the drip irrigation and everything else, it's got to be a sustainable business. I want them to make money to be able to build the economy around the villages. Is that a good one?
That's great.
There you go. So, these are the 3 levels of actionable analytics. You guys know all this stuff, but I just want to reiterate it in my... So, descriptive is what happened. You get all the data. Why did this break down? Why did this tire go flat? Why? We got all this information. It's coming in. That's the easy part. Right? I can get the data from anywhere. But now, what is likely to happen with that when you get that data? My tire is going to blow up in the next 4,000 miles. I want to know that. I am going to be late to get here to talk to these guys, so I want Waze to tell me predictively that no 11:14, you got to leave at 11 o'clock. Right? So you're going to take that. So that's a really cool thing, and I'm willing to pay for that. First one I'm willing to give you. Second one I'm willing to pay for it. The third one is, what should we do? And that's where the money is. What should you do 6 months from now or a year from now? What kind of business should you be in? You know, where is that data going? I want to know, what should we do? That's what a board asks. What am I going to do with this? What should I do with that 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now? So that's where you're headed with data. Got to take it in, This is what's likely to happen, but that's what's going to happen. And that's where you got to spend your time thinking about that in the long run. So here are several things around what I'm looking at it from a driving of business transactions and where we're headed from it. You got to monitor your businesses. Yes, sir.
About the other slide.
Yep.
Most of what we're doing here is statistics based, but most of what you mentioned and most of the things I know are being done are more deterministic. Like for a jet engine, for a tire, you know the underlying mechanical process going on.
Right.
You can use big data to easily predict that.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see the future? I mean, perfecting the statistical models in the more nebulous areas like marketing, what will my customers buy, which is pretty much educated guess at the end, or using the big data and all those things in processes we know better, like power play, which we don't know exactly.
I think
when things will break down and when you should replace.
I think it's all the above, depending on the business you're in, right? So the more humanistic or consumer-based you are, it changes the analytic data that you're trying to get to that consumer. But if you're also building products for the consumer, I want to know, what's not working and how and what can I sell them for a better price, for more margins, and it's going to help them. So I think that's a big thing. But I think it's all the above, depending on the business you're in and the vertical market you're in, and the value of that data is different from one to the other. I understand that you're focused in on the statistics part, but I do think there's a bigger marketplace out there for this piece. Which
that's what I was feeling.
Yeah. I mean, because I look at the statistical part is on the descriptive, right? I can gather that statistics. Give me the stats. I got it. It's what are you going to tell me I need to do 6 months out with the use of that data. So business monitoring. Again, we talked about that. Monitoring your business, monitoring your clients, understanding where the markets are going. All that data's got to be in there because you need to look at the insights and the foresight with that data. Just because you get the data doesn't mean you understand what the hell it does. And you don't have the foresight to look it down the road. So it's very important that you look at it, and you got to optimize human decision. Humans are dumb, for the most part. They want to be told what to do. Drive down 85, make a left. Tell me what the hell to do, right? Tell me when I need to go buy a tire. Tell me when I should buy Bitcoin. Tell me when I should buy Apple stock. Tell me what I should do. So they want to know, you've got to optimize the human decision-making capabilities from the data you have. Right? One of the biggest things that I think one of the reasons why our company has been so successful has been, so when we talk to clients, one of the first things I ask the CEO is, so when was the last time you were out talking to your customer? No, not those customers. I mean really the users of that. Most of them say, we haven't. So you don't even know what the hell they want. So how can you take the data that you're getting and transform that into a human decision-making capability? You haven't talked to them. How many people have been to an Apple store or a Best Buy lately? Now you know what you're going in to do, right? You're going in to look. Next time, go in and be a dummy. I don't know, I need a TV. Or go to the mobile counter where you get the Best Buy mobile and go, I don't know anything. I don't know what this Android shit is. I don't know what this Apple is. Oh my God. They don't know anything. Don't take that's it. Because they're all wearing blue shirts. Like, you know those guys at Best Buy when you walk in and wearing those blue damn shirts? They don't know shit. But you have to start to think about that, right? You start to look at who's buying that product. And then one of the great advantages we do is we actually go out and do that survey. We'll actually survey end users and who is buying the product from whatever our client is and work our way backwards. We start with the end user and work our way back to the technology. Most geeks and really high disruptive technology builders build the stuff and pray that the end user will come. And we go this way. Because, don't take this wrong, we have a lot of smart people like you who are building really cool things. There's no shortages of great technology people or manufacturing facilities in Asia that can build anything. But you got to figure out how to sell it, who's going to buy it, how they're going to buy it, where they're going to buy it, how they want to pay for it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we talk about like understanding the use of data we have. I was thinking about the other way around. So do businesses like think about what value I can have with data, and then design some product or strategy to gather that data in a structured, planned way, and then to have a positive ROI?
That's right. So a consistent flow of solid, usable data. That's the problem. Today we have a lot of data coming. The usability of that data is probably 50%, and I think that's why we're down into the 20% of people utilizing the data. Because we're gathering all this, but we don't know what to do with those pieces of data. Both more on the consumer side than the business side today, because we're trying to always build, like for the next Christmas season. You know, what is going to be the hot toy? What is going to be the hot technology now? So you're taking all that analytical data today from the last couple of Christmases and the trends and what's being shown at the Hong Kong show and the CES show, and trying to figure out predictability-wise based on consumer data. You know, what average consumer wants to pay for things? You know, what are they going to go online and do as we continue to have our society buy online? What are they going to do? What is the search engines telling them? You know, we don't do cookies anymore, right? So it's a little bit different. Well, now you're showing my age. So we don't do cookies anymore, right? So we're looking at all kinds of other analytics based on consumer buying scenarios. So all that stuff gets put into it, which then again drives how do we monetize this stuff? So you have two different models of monetizing. You have the companies that you're working with, and then the offshoot of the data who you can sell it to. So there's a lot more value going out that way. So some additional thoughts. Big data is about small. Don't forget that. So I want to know about that piece of crop. I want to know about that ear of corn. I want to know about that tire. I want to know about that jet engine. I want to know about that phone. I want to know about that consumer. I'm not saying I want to know about all that. It's all about that one, because that drives buying habits. So big data is about small. Do not get overwhelmed with technology. And I know I'm speaking to the right group of people. Don't get overwhelmed with technology. Right? You can get the data. You can there's engines to down. You know how old Watson is? This is a great marketing piece. How old is Watson? 10 years. Longer than that. 30. Yeah. It's a 20, 30-year-old product. No different than what Amazon would say or Google would say in the cloud, or Microsoft Azure. All it is a marketing thing. It's like the Internet of Things, which we're going to talk about next. Internet of Things isn't new. Cisco changed it when they started marketing the Internet of Everything. So it's just a marketing. But what people are paying for Watson to do is where your future is. Taking huge amounts of data, putting it into a string of decision-making capabilities, and going from there. So all that concept makes there. So don't get overwhelmed with the technology, and look at the companies that have failed. I know we don't like to talk about the negatives, but companies don't all make gazillion dollars. They're not all successful. Go look at the reasons that companies have failed in this space. What didn't they do right? What trends didn't they get? What was the ROI model bad? So look at those negatives. Just take the time to do it. So, and what is the best book out there about your business?
Your book.
The what? My book? Is that what you said? Yeah, not yet. What?
Business model generation.
No. Ready for this? How many people have read Moneyball?
Seen a movie.
Seen the movie? Go read the book. So just for all you non-jocks in here, does anybody know what Moneyball was, or the movie was? Did anybody hear about it before? No? Oh, there you go. We got a couple. Okay, so Moneyball was about a general manager for a major league baseball team that all he did was look at the statistics and analyze the statistics of ball players. All he did was look at the statistics. He looked at where they swung, how many times they struck out, how many balls were, where did they throw the ball, how did they stand, where they hit, everything, all in analytical data, all statistics. And then he drafted and brought onto his team all the people that came out of his analytics that were high on top of the list. And guess what he did? Won the World Series. So go read the book Moneyball. It brings what you do to a commonality, and you see the results. There's an ROI in a thing called baseball off of analytics. And today, there is not one. The surface, blue surface, is everywhere on the NFL fields, right? Every one of them are looking at stats. This cornerback against Miami Dolphins this weekend can only go right. He can't go left. So Julio is going to go and beat his butt this weekend by going off of that statistic. But Moneyball is a pretty cool thing. And then I say, what are the big data M's? Make me more money with my data. With my data. Figure it out. So, okay? All right, chapter 1 done. Now we're going to go to IoT. What is IoT? Oh, I can't say. Oh, so this is talking about examples. Yeah. Right. So this is a client of ours currently today. They are from the awesome city of. No one knows. Vilnius. Anybody know where Vilnius is? Lithuania, exactly. And you know why there's so many great technology companies coming out of Lithuania? We brought 12 companies from Lithuania to the United States over the last 5-6 years. You know why? Because that was where the KGB technology headquarters were. These are all the sons and daughters of the KGB technology engineers that are now coming out with really cool stuff. So I'm in Lithuania at least once or twice a year. Cold is friggin' all get out. Don't go there in the middle of the winter, I can assure you. There's not enough clothes in my closet to wear. I never took my long johns off for 10 days. Different pair, don't get me wrong. Never took them off. So what they did is they built a big data analytics company group. So today you get blasted by advertisements to switch from Sprint to Verizon. That's the best example I can come up with, right? All day long. Switch, I'm going to give you a $300 value on my phone and blah, 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 and I'm going to go to a lower price. And what are we going to pay nothing for our cell phones? That day is coming. So this company did predictive analytics on when people would churn off one network and go to another network. Because the churn numbers are what the stock market looks at all the time. They want to know how many people are switching off of Sprint and going to T-Mobile. And if you look at the last 4 quarters, T-Mobile's numbers have been a lot higher because of John Laguerre's Un-carrier marketing program, which the rest of the industry didn't look to counterbalance on that because they didn't look at the data coming out of the trend that was going on. It's not that you're getting a better deal. You are getting Netflix, but you have to pay for more on the data side. So you look at it that way. So this company does a churn prediction software for cellular phone carriers around the world. Really cool platform. Again, it's all, and the other thing about the platform is not only does it predict when you will churn off, but it's got an upsell marketing component to it. And so it allows the marketing companies, marketing groups within the cellular carrier to say, okay, Nate, you're currently on an old Android phone. You really, if I know that if I gave you a great deal on a Galaxy 7, you're going to stay with me. It knows that if Hunter turned around and has been paying what he believes is too much for data, but I turned around and gave him a better data program with more gigabytes, he's probably going to stay. So it's got an upsell marketing component tied to it, which is, again, taking the data and doing something with it to help humans make better business decisions and stay. So let's talk about IoT. What does it stand for? Internet of Things. Yes.
Regarding your previous slide.
Yeah.
So I've worked in analytics in telecom before I came here.
Yep.
So regarding that company, how did they get access to data for example, both Sprint and
CDR information. It's getting all the billing information, all the customer service bill.
Because normally
you wouldn't
can't
get
get
it.
it.
That's correct. You have it's a $5,000 a month minimum, up to $25,000 a month. I think U.S. Cellular is paying, and it's $5,000 to $10,000 a month for sucking in the data from the billing system and the customer service system to be able to take the data and do it. Then it also looks at inventory information. It looks at coverage. So he might, Ryan might not like it because his drive back and forth to school, he drops coverage. So he's probably going to churn off. So I got to turn around and figure out that if there are 75,000 Ryans out there that are pissed off because I'm dropping coverage in a particular area, that data will come out there and I'm going to put a cell site there. So it's taking in the data from the carrier information. The Internet of Things. Is it only wireless? No? Why do you say that?
Well, because it's not only like smart fridges, thermostats, whether if it's small thing, it's usually wireless. But if it's a big thing or if it's an industrial thing, we can just pull up the Ethernet wire there.
You are absolutely correct. That's exactly. If you didn't bring it industrial, I would have said that's it. So the industry has changed to where it's not just consumer products anymore. So there's the thing that, so I've been in the machine-to-machine business for 20-something years. And so if you go back into the 1990s, I put the first wireless machine-to-machine modem in a Coke machine. Big box with a big antenna on the top of the Coke machine that monitored the refrigeration temperature, the inventory that was inside the Coke machine, the coin, because at that time there wasn't credit card programs, right? You would put dollars and coins in these things, so you wanted to know if the coin box got full, so there was a sensor in the coin box, and all those things. And so that was 20, 30 years ago. And that was machine to machine. Meters were machine to machine, remote control out of there. And then it became the Internet of Things because of our friends at Cisco changed it to the Internet of Everything. And now it's the buzzword. And I'm happy with the buzzword. I'm very happy. We're making more money because everybody wants to be in the IoT business. So you got to look at it. So what do we do in the space? Because everybody wants to be in the IoT space, no one knows what the hell to do with it. Oh, I got to be in the IoT. I talk to companies that say, I'm going to be in the IoT space. I go, okay, tell me what you're going to do with it. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, do you have a lot of money? Because my retainer on a monthly basis is $50,000 for next year because you don't know anything about this business and I need to tell you. But I'm going to be in the IoT business. So we just focused in on making money in this, trying to figure it out. So when I go to Asia, when I go to Shenzhen or Guangzhou and I sit there in a factory and I'm looking at a company that's looking to try and build a product that we can find on the Best Buy shelf for $34, you're nuts. Because even if you sold it for $32, there's not enough money and volume in it. So when I go to Asia and I talk to those people, I said, tell me what your marketing budget is. Above and beyond what you're going to pay Steve. And they go, well, nothing. Well, I don't know your brand. I don't know what you, no one knows your brand in the United States. I can give you all the analytical data right now to tell me, and I can sit there and show you that this Ring.com wannabe product that you're looking to come out with, or this toy, or this OEM-based white label phone ain't gonna sell. And if you're gonna bring it onto Amazon, you're gonna be on page 71. And you're gonna get 7 different people to buy it. And I sit there and go, you need to give me a marketing budget. Because the analytical data that I'm going to show you says that if you come out with a Me Too product for this Christmas season, and you don't spend $25,000 a month on pay-per-click and marketing and brand awareness, you ain't getting off page 71 on Amazon. I will luckily get you to 17, page 17. So I'm taking that analytical data off of Amazon. I'm looking at it from a SKU standpoint. I'm taking all the SKUable data in the mobile platform, home automation, IoT products, taking that data and I'm sending it and I'm giving it to you. And I'm going to show you right here that if you think you're going to market right now, you're going to be sadly disappointed with the profit margins you're going to make on that product, because here's your competition, here's what they're selling it at, here's how they're distributing it, here's where they are on Amazon, here's where they are on e-tail in general, this is what they're doing. And they hate that because they're sitting in Shenzhen thinking in their own little bubble. A prime example, I turned around in my last talk in Shanghai a couple months ago. I'm talking about Google Home and Alexa. You know what the problem is? It's illegal in China. So how the hell are you going to build an API integration in a product that goes with Alexa if you can't even use it? Whoops, forgot about that. You know, so what am I doing? Because I handed them data and said that in your home today, how many people have Alexa or Echo or anything else at home? Wow, I would have thought more people do. It's just, you will. I mean, the Dot is cheap.
The Dot is so cheap.
It's so cheap, it's so cool. I mean, it really works great. And so the Alexa and the Dot and all the other stuff is going to be used to control your home. So I'm going to be able to sit there and go, I'm not going to have to go to the alarm pad and hit the alarm to go away. I'm going to say, Alexa, I'm leaving, turn the alarm on, and I walk out the door and it arms it. Not only do I want my favorite music coming out of Alexa and doing that stuff, but now I'm going to start to get into home automation. Turn this light off, turn this curtain, open this curtain, you know, blah, 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 blah. Exactly. You know, who's at the front door, Alexa, that kind of stuff. You can't do that in China because you can't use it. So how can these guys build products when I'm giving them the data that says in the next 2 years in the United States, the successful IoT products for home are going to be operated by Alexa, if you can't use it. So I can give them all the data in the world. That means they have to change the product, marketing, business development programs that they have in order to capture the market. All about data. Consumer data, buying habits. So it started a long time ago. Big difference between the consumer and the enterprise side. You said it perfectly. Totally different. So right now in the IoT, they're predicting that they're going to be 20 billion, 30 billion, 50 billion devices on over the next several years. We ain't even close to it. We're in the hundreds of millions. So where is that going to come from? It's going to come from a farm that has 25,000 sensors and meters and control devices. It's going to come from your home when you're going up to the average. They're saying right now, the average connected home will have somewhere between 30 and 50 connected devices at home. Every door, every window, every air conditioning unit, your refrigerators, your temperatures on your toaster oven, everything. Think about all the things that are going to be there. So that's where the exponential growth is going to come on the consumer side, but on the industrial side and on the enterprise side, it's going to be huge amounts. Huge amounts. I mean, we're talking about, think about the average building, and I don't know enough about this building, but I'm going to assume that there are hundreds and hundreds of sensors in this building. Between light sensors, temperature sensors, escalators, elevators, front doors, alarm panels, fire alarm panels, all those are sensors. So if you take a smart building, if you happen to go into architecture or you go to building automation, The amount of sensors and things in those smart buildings are going to be through the roof. My other prediction is, based on the data, is that any new home that is constructed will be a smart home. Not a LEED because it's quality efficient on the sun and the air temperature and all of those. No, I'm talking about a smart home. Because you buy new homes today with Cat 5 everywhere, right? So you plug in anywhere in any home and it's got all that stuff. Now it's going to have multiple Wi-Fi hotspots in it, extended 5G coverage inside your home with sensors everywhere. That's where you're going to buy it, and then you're expecting it to be a part of your package of your home.
And secure it.
And secure. Yeah, correct. And then you talk about condos and apartments that are building up, and the new ones you see, all smart. Right? Touchpads on the key, no more keys, or you hit the unit, or it's an RFID tag or something like that to get in, or some kind of sensor unit to get in every door. No more keys. They know when you walk in. Now I haven't even talked about biometrics and data. So I'm a Clear member. You know what Clear is at the airport? Have you seen that, right? So reads my retina, my iris, or uses my finger. All that data. So I have two different thoughts on it, right? Oh my God, they got my fingerprints. I don't know who the hell Clear is. They've already gone out of business once. I'm doing this and I'm giving them, they got everything on me. Oh, it gives me the weebie-jeebies thinking about that. But I don't really care, because you can't take this away. It's me. Actually, I don't really care because I know that I'm secure. So I know that if the world of data knows that Steve Brumer walked through the Clear booth to get onto my plane instead of going through TSA pre-check, I'm okay with that. I wish every one of you had that in there, because I know who you are, where you are, what you're doing, how you're buying things. It's the same thing with going into Home Depot today. If you had the Home Depot app, the IoT app, it would know when you're within miles of Home Depot. It'll send you advertisements as you get closer and closer and closer. And then as soon as you get out of your car and you go through the front door, IoT takes over because it knows that Steve walked through the front door and he is looking for light bulbs. And what are they going to do? As soon as you walk in there, the RFID and the triangulation of the Wi-Fi, what? Steve, make a left, go to aisle 6, make a right, and here's the Philips bulbs that I was looking for. And by the way, they're on sale. And that's all Internet of Things. Everything is tied to it. Even to the point is that eventually you're going to take your phone and you're going to scan the QR code or the barcode on there, or the UPC code on there. You're going to pay for it on your phone. You're going to go there, and you're never going to have to sit there and talk to one of those schmucks at the end of the door. You just walk right the hell out. That's all IoT, isn't it? Yes, sir.
Didn't Amazon just did that last year, I think?
Say it again?
Yeah, Amazon, I think, just did that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it in Whole Foods. Eventually, Whole Foods is all going to be that. Yeah, absolutely. Because no one, again, I talked about, it's about the human behavior. The stuff that you guys do at your age is for convenience. I don't want to be inconvenienced. I want to be more efficient of my time. I don't want to wait for anything. I get the information now. I want to do something with the information now. Well, that's all data being flowed to you so you can do those kinds of decision-making things. Yes, sir.
I guess, like, for me, like, I want to view this, like, I'm trying to, like, internalize a bit, like, this is really making the world a better place. Like, I mean, I'm a 21-year-old millennial, Gen Z, whatever. Like, we're especially, like, myself and, like, the younger generation, especially, like, teenagers, high schoolers, they want to do work that really makes the world a better place. And
say it again?
They want to do work that makes the world a better place.
You think?
I know.
You think, so hold on.
Teenagers?
Wow, we went off on another tangent. Didn't expect this. So you're going to tell me that you think a majority of teenagers today are thinking and working towards making the world a better place on a regular basis?
There are studies that, I mean, there are polls and everything that show that young people want to be doing work in the future that they feel fulfilled.
Hold on, different thing. Fulfilled in their workplace?
Right, but also that make I mean, there's polls.
Do you know that the average age of volunteers in the world right now is in their 50s? Do you know that the average teenager right now doesn't even know how to volunteer for his class?
It's not volunteer.
Hold on, but it's given back. How else are you at 15, 18, 21 years old give back to society if you can't volunteer?
A lot of them want to start businesses.
Okay, but sustainable businesses?
Let's hope they.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not, look, we can have this conversation.
Right.
I guess back to happy hour.
Right.
So I'm just, it's an interesting,
my question is, how do you, I want to make sure I internalize this, like, hey, this is really making the world a better place. Like, the fact that you can, because that would open up a lot more jobs to me that I feel personally, like, thrilled and, like, myself.
Great question. Okay, so in my opinion, the Internet of Things allows society to live better, work better, play better. So if you use sensors and the analytics from things that are tied together, you will be able to live in a better world. So by being able to take that data and look at it in a way that allows you to live a better life, grow more crops, sustain more better living with water, have less air pollution, have less disease, have less all that, all because of IoT, then you're on the right track.
Excuse me, I hate to be the
Yeah.
party pooper of the crowd, but we have to end soon.
We do.
Because they are going to Home Depot for a site visit. Very, very relevant. Yes.
Okay, how much time do I have?
Maybe just 5 minutes. Is that
No way.
okay? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, sorry.
All right, major challenges, not only for data analytics, but IoT. Education, security, and integration. If you are not educating your customers, your companies, your people correctly with a clear vision, you're doing yourself a disservice. You better understand the security of that data. If I'm going to trust you with my data, you better make it non-Equifax related. Okay? Vertical market focus. Just so you know, in data analytics today and in IoT, 40% of all proof of concepts and trials fail. 40%. So ask your Home Depot person if they've done that trial and if it was successful and had a provable ROI. So data must be consistently used. So in conclusion, 4.5 minutes, industry challenges must be faced head on. Whatever industry you're in, face it. Don't make this too complicated. You know what the KISS theory is? Keep it simple, stupid. You got board members, you got investors, they don't understand this stuff. You better dumb it down to me and all the other ones that are out there. And these investors still want an ROI. Right? So when I invest, I want a 25% plus return on my investment in 3 to 5 years. So you better show me the data that's going to tell me that what you're going to do and what I'm investing in is going to give me that back. Or you're going to have to talk to my wife. And I told you about this, focusing on the end user. Right? It's very important that you start there and work your way backwards. Because you want to sell the problem that you solve, not the product. Make sure you understand what the problem is. Solve the problem. The products will come. You'll figure that part out. You'll be able to deliver that part pretty easily. And look at this way of handling things. Think about the people, then the process, and then the product last. So you can get the product built. But it's the people that you have to understand that. And also try to look at the long term. I know it's very hard sometimes to look out 5 years, 10 years when you're doing the things you do, but it's really important that you try and do. And then my last thing is, you got to network like hell. You got to go out there, you got to go to the trade shows, you got to figure out what's going on, you got to talk to people, go learn, continue to get outside of the classroom and get into the Home Depots of the world, but go out and go to some of these trade shows. If you want to come to New York with me in 2 weeks to go to the IoT Data Security Summit, I'll get you passes. You can come with me. You never stop that. And then this is my last piece of philosophy. Chase the vision and love what you do, and the money will come. Okay? Nate, I'm going to pick on you. Chase the vision. Look at what you're trying to accomplish. Look at what you do and what you love doing. And all the money in the world will come. No matter what the hell you do in technology, what the hell you do in your life, what you do with people, friends, family, all those things. It's all about that.